Well, last night we pretty much didn't see any action and not much really happened in terms of those round of 16 games in the MLS's back tournament. Tonight, everything happened in both of these MLS's back tournament games, and that we begin with the first game between NYCFC versus Toronto FC, where NYCFC definitely shocked a lot of people by beating TFC 3-1 in this game, and that this performance was by far the best performance I've ever seen NYCFC done under Ronnie Delia this season, and that this looked more like the NYCFC team that we know of last season that finished first in the Eastern Conference. Now, there was no Ayo Akinyola for TFC because he had a little bit of a tightness on his hamstring. So Jaden Nelson starts instead, and this was actually his first ever start for TFC and his first ever start in MLS, which, yeah, I can't imagine how he must feel knowing the fact that he has to jump right into the deep end for his first start, and that is being in the round of 16 of this tournament. While Maxi Morales and Aber both were on the bench for NYCFC, Maxi Morales would eventually come off the bench in the beginning of the second half, and boy, he would have a huge impact for NYCFC in this game. In the first half, and just 5 minutes into this game, Medina scores from Tinnerholm to give NYCFC a 1-0 lead, but in many ways, there's got to be a lot of question you have to ask about the defending, which defending throughout this tournament for TFC has really been their Achilles heels, and it showed once again in this instant where I have no idea what in the world they were doing on the defensive end there. And also the goalkeeping, Quinton Westberg, I kind of feel like he should have done better in terms of that. Like, he did get a hand off of that shot that wasn't really well hit, and usually when that of course happened, I kind of question the goalkeeper probably should have done a little bit better, and is one that probably Westberg might want to have that one back. Now, both teams did start to have chances early as the game really opens up, although I thought NYCFC actually had more of the chances after that. One of those chances came in the 15th minute when Callan's free header was just dragged wide, and that NYCFC could have been up 2-0 after 15 minutes. Then Westberg would rob Medina his potential second goal as he actually went through on goal before Johnson, right near the end of the half, was able to deny Larea with who had a chance to equalize in this game. Now in the second half, as I mentioned, Maxi Morales would be coming off the bench in this game, and as I said, he would have a huge impact in this game. Now before that, in the 46th minute and right as we came out of halftime, there was a little bit of a controversy when Larea actually brought down Tinnerholm in the box, and there was no penalty that was called. I thought that was a penalty, knowing the fact that when I look on the replay a couple of times, it was pretty clear that Larea actually brought Tinnerholm down, and the fact that they didn't go to VAR in this instant just shows another evidence of why VAR in this tournament and in general in MLS has been very inconsistent. Now, fortunately for NYCFC, they eventually would get that second goal, and it would be Tati Castellanos scoring from Maxi Morales to give them a 2-0 lead. Then Osorio had a free header that could have given TFC a goal back in this game, but unfortunately it went wide. And I thought TFC attack looked very lackluster throughout this game. Like, I know they did had a couple of decent chances to potentially get a goal, but at times their passing was definitely off, and that they don't look like the good flowing attack that they had in the group stage heading or they didn't look like the attack that we saw in the group stage where they were really moving the ball very well, and that they really struggled in terms of tonight's performance. Then in the 81st minute, Maxi Morales would get on the board from Aber and Mackay Steven to give NYCFC a 3-0 lead, and at that point you knew this game was pretty much game set and match. Mullins did score from Altidore and Schaffelberg to give TFC a potential lifeline, but in many ways that was more of a consolation goal for TFC. And then late in the game, NYCFC probably could have made it 4-1, and Aber probably should have scored a goal in this game, because in the first minute of stoppage time, he actually went through on goal with just nobody around him. All he needs to do is round the goalkeeper and tap it into the empty net, but instead he decided to be a little bit cheeky and decided to try to chip Westberg, which unfortunately that one came off the bar. Now, fortunately for Abear, his team was leading 3-1 at that point. Imagine if he does that, if NYCFC were leading 2-1 or at 1-1. His teammates would absolutely be on him, and they'll probably even be more on him if TFC would have find a way to get the equalizer or win the game because of that missed chances. Then just a minute later, it seemed like clearly the soccer gods did not like the fact that Abear decided to do that cheeky chip, so they decided to punish him again by having hit one of his shot once again hit the post in the 92nd minute of this game. But in the end, it didn't really matter anyway, and the fact that, even though Aber would feel like he got stake bit in this game and he could have had a goal in this game if it wasn't for the post, his team at least still won this one as NYCFC, a rare victory in a knockout stage game, and that I think this is only their second win in their franchise history, if you want to talk about knockout stage game, because previously the only win that they had in a knockout kind of game like this was against the Union a couple of years back, and now they are moving on into the quarterfinal of this game. Now, in terms of the shots in this game, there was 12 shots compared to 11 that NYCFC had, 2 shots on goal compared to 7 that NYCFC had, 5 shots off target compared to 4 that NYCFC had, 5 shots out was blocked compared to none that NYCFC had, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to 45% possession that NYCFC had. And with Toronto losing this game and getting eliminated in this tournament, this also means we're not going to have a Toronto versus Seattle Sounders MLS is back tournament final game in that instant. And I'm pretty sure a lot of MLS fans are relieved the fact that they're not going to see another Seattle versus Toronto game, because let's face it, we saw this saga like 3 out of the last four year of the MLS Cup. Do we really need to see another chapter of this game in the MLS's back tournament final? So I'm pretty sure a lot of fans were happy the fact that Toronto got eliminated, or they were really hoping that it's either Toronto or Seattle get themselves eliminated so we don't have that outcome. Well, turns out we won't have that outcome because TFC, of course, lose to NYCFC, and now NYCFC has a chance to go to the quarterfinal and do something that they have never done in their franchise history, which is moving on into the semifinal in a knockout competition. But moving on, in terms of the next match, and perhaps a match that we're going to be talking about for a very, very long time, is Sporting KC versus the Vancouver Whitecaps. Now, this was the first game in this tournament that actually gone all the way to a penalty kick shootout, which in the end, SKC was able to win 3-1 in the PK shootout. But that was not the big story of this game. The big story of this game was this 21-year-old young goalkeeper called Thomas Hasal that was able to just not only stood on his head in this game, but he absolutely channeled his Maxime Crepeau kind of impression and saved everything that SKC tried to put against him. And speaking of Maxime Crepeau, I don't know about you, but something tells me Crepeau must have said something to the young kid and probably give him some magic pixie dust to him, because it seems like the performance that Hasal puts look very similar to what Crepeau has been doing pretty much throughout his career with the Vancouver Whitecaps, and just pretty much stood on his head to try to make sure the Whitecaps are staying in this game. Now, Theo Bear actually started this game instead of Jordi Reyna, and that really was the only notable note from this game. And I was kind of surprised that Bear actually started in this game, because this is the first time in this tournament that he actually started in this game. He usually come off the bench, but I guess maybe Mark Dos Santos want to kind of see if this, of course, work out, and that Reyna hasn't really had a great tournament, so want to give the young kid a chance to maybe start the game and see if he had some big impact. Now, in the first half, it was pretty clear that Vancouver was just playing this game all the way to penalty. Like, they literally did their usual thing that they have been doing throughout this tournament, which is put 10 guys behind the box and hope that they can ride out just not just a storm that they're about to face, but almost a hurricane level of force that is going to be thrown in their way, as SKC was basically putting a shooting clinic in this game against the Vancouver Whitecaps. But as I said, Thomas Hasal, who as I said, he absolutely stood on his head in this game to deny SKC a chance to score a goal. Well, it all started in the 18th minute when he absolutely robbed Gadi Kinda with a spectacular save. Like, Kinda basically hits this one very well from about 4 yards out, but the cat-like reflex of Hasal was able to make this spectacular save and keep this game at 0-0. Then Dahomey actually registered the first shot on goal as Mealy had to palm that one away of the shot that he was doing. And, I thought Vancouver, after that first shot on goal that they registered, they had a spell of corners and started to kind of come out of their shell and started to kind of attack a little bit, which was something I wasn't expecting them to do in this game. I thought they were going to do the same thing they did against Chicago and pretty much throughout this tournament, and that is just sit deep and hope that this one will go to penalty. Now, right on the stroke of halftime, it's that Hasal kid again. He denies Russell of an opening goal as we head to halftime 0-0. Then in the second half, Hasal would deny Zuzi in the near post, and that I thought, at this point, it was pretty clear that if SKC can score a goal in this game, the floodgates will open because, again, as I said before, Vancouver is just pretty much holding on for dear life in this game, and really hope that Hasal can continue to just absolutely robbing SKC attacker left and right in terms of the shots that they put on. Now, in the 62nd minute, Gutierrez, I thought he got away with a second yellow card after he decided to do a sloppy scissor challenge on one of the SKC player. And keep in mind, when he did that scissor challenge doing this sequence, a couple of minutes before, he was actually booked with a yellow card. So I have no idea why exactly he decided to do a scissor challenge when he's already on a yellow card. Like the old saying goes, is true. When you're on a yellow card, you got to make sure you're extra careful whenever you decided to put a challenge in, because if you get that challenge wrong, if you get that sliding tackle wrong, you are most likely going to get your second yellow and get sent off in this game. And I thought Gutierrez was very lucky, the fact that he got away with that one, and that in many ways that should have been a second yellow card, and that the Whitecaps should have been reduced to 10 men at that point. Now in the 65th minute, Hasal once again made another spectacular save as he denied Polito's shot that was actually on target, but he was able to push that one off to the post. Then there was a very, very scary instant, and that I'm pretty sure a lot of Whitecaps fan and pretty much MLS fan in general was holding their breath at this point when Hasal actually took a knock to the head, and he was actually on the ground for a bit. And obviously with the Whitecaps without a fourth string goalkeeper, in fact they didn't even have a backup goalkeeper on their bench, if Hasal had to come off in this game, we were probably going to see a field player. And then, as much as I do like to see eventually one of these MLS games where there's going to be a outfield player that is going to be play as a goalkeeper, I kind of didn't feel like that was the time to do so, especially how hot Hasal has been, in that he's pretty much just is the only reason why the Vancouver Whitecaps and Sporting KC is still 0-0 in this game. But fortunately, he did get back on his feet, and that he was able to continue for the rest of the game. Now, for the last 10 minutes of the game, it was pretty clear that the Vancouver Whitecaps defender looked absolutely tired, and they just had nothing left in the tank. But give credit to them too, and that, as much as I know a lot of people will give a lot of credit to Hasal and what he has done in this game by robbing a lot of these SKC attackers a chance to get the opening goal, you also got to give credit to the back line of the Whitecaps, where, you know, even though at times they looked like they got bent throughout this game by this SKC attack, they did not broke and were able to sustain just a relentless pressure that SKC put on them throughout this game. And in the 90th minute, Grant Smith almost had a chance to give SKC the winner of this game with a free header, but unfortunately he puts that one wide, and that was really one of the last chance that SKC had in the regulation time, and that means that we, of course, will go to a penalty kick shootout after this game was tied 0-0 after 90 minutes. Now, in the penalty kick shootout, it would be Busio eventually scoring the winning penalty, and that Vancouver actually missed 3 penalties in the shootout. And as much as I was really hoping there was some more dramatic thing to happen in the shootout, yeah, that was a huge letdown with the way that the Whitecaps, you know, when you miss 3 penalty like that in a shootout, it doesn't matter how, if you have a goalkeeper like they did tonight with Hasal saving everything, it doesn't really matter in the end when you miss 3 penalty kick shootout, since usually when you miss that many penalty kick in a penalty kick shootout, you are probably not going to win this penalty kick shootout. And indeed, that was the case, as SKC was able to win 3-1 in the penalty kick shootout. And again, despite the fact that I know SKC moved on, and I'm pretty sure their fans are a little bit relieved the fact that they move on, because imagine if they lose this game against the Vancouver Whitecaps. This would be one of the more embarrassing loss that SKC suffer, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of memory of the double post incident a couple of years back when SKC would lose this penalty kick shootout against the Vancouver Whitecaps. But at the end of the day, you know, if you're the Whitecaps, you got to hold your head high on this. And, you know, Thomas Hasal, I have a feeling he's going to eventually get another shot in this MLS level. Like, I know eventually when Crepeau does come back, he'll still be the starting goalkeeper, but I won't be surprised if some team are calling Vancouver right now and seeing if they can, of course, get their third string goalkeeper, because he has really proved in these 3 games that he has played in this MLS's back tournament that he clearly has a potential to be a very decent goalkeeper in this league. Now, in terms of the shots in this game, SKC had 36 shots compared to 8 that Vancouver has. 8 shots on goal compared to 5 that the Whitecaps had. 22 shots off target compared to none that Vancouver has. 6 shots that was blocked compared to 3 that the Whitecaps had. And possession-wise, 64% possession compared to 36% possession. And SKC actually beat out the Quakes earlier in this tournament with the most shots in this tournament, because I believe the Quakes actually had 33 shots in that tournament, and that SKC just beat them out of that. But at least the good news about the Quakes is at least they can still say that they had the most corner of anybody in this tournament, and that they also broke the record in terms of the most corner in a single MLS game with 22 in that one. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it for the review of these 2 games. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of these 2 games, and that I think this is as good as it gets in terms of how these round of 16 games. Like, if there's anything even more crazier than what we saw in these 2 games, then I have a feeling we are in for a very crazy kind of knockout stage. But yeah, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of both of these games. And yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.